Welcome to exercise 3. This is a walkthrough and we want to assess information about the metasploitables. And why do we want to gather information? We want to gather information to see what ports are live, what vulnerabilities we can exploit, and so on. So first we're going to use nmap. So if we go to the metasploitable, we can write ifconfig, and this will give information, and we can see the inet address. So if we go to our Kali, we can write nmap 192.108.74.7. And here we can see a lot of ports that are open. And what nmap is doing a three-way handshake. And if you don't know what a three-way handshake is, it's when us, the user or the client, makes a request to a server. So we make a SYN, and then the server responds back with a SYN ACK, and then we acknowledge that we have made this request and we return an ACK. So this is a three-way handshake. And this is to see which ports are open. And this is a good thing to see what we have open. Also, we can see the 80 TCP port, that's usually websites and so on. And we can exploit some of these ports if they are open. But when we do a lot of TCP handshakes, there's a chance that we get noticed. So usually when we ping, we can use this command st, which is a full scan like we did before. But this makes a lot of requests. So we can actually do a stealth check instead with this command. And we need root privileges, so let's write sudo nmap 192. So here we did the same responses, but instead of doing a three-way handshake, we actually say to the server, hey, I'm sending this, and the server acknowledges that and sends the SYN ACK, and then we just ghost the server. So we never make this response back. And this is a way for us not to get caught when we do a lot of requests, because like I've talked about in the class, when you ping a server or makes a lot of noise, we usually would get caught and people will see that we do something that's not in the normal range. But we could get caught if we do this. So we could also do a -d and put other IPs. So I can do, let's say 64 and then .8. And this way, when we send a request, it will say, okay, we have from this address, okay, but we also have from the other address. We have from this address, and then we also have from the other address. And this is a way for us to make a lot of requests, but they don't know which IP we are actually making it from. So they will have a hard time finding out where we do the pinging from. but most of the firewalls and so on have some security in terms of the pinging we do. When we have nmap, we can do a man and nmap to get the manual. And here we can see all the things we can do. And one of the things we can do is to write, here we can write -o to detect the operation system. So here it will say that it's running Linux. And we can also do a aggressive search, which does a combination with A. And if you find out that it takes a long time, you can actually press enter and it will say how long it has. So we can see it has 47.83% done. So don't worry if it takes a long time. This is just some of the things when you hack, it's not always quick. So here we can see a lot of information. The cool thing with nmap is that it has a lot of things we can do. So we can actually make a script, or we can use scripts to check for vulnerabilities. But I'm lazy, so I don't want to copy all these one by one. So I can actually use a command. So I can go into my Linux and I can write sudo nmap scripts vul and then the IP, so I can say 192.168.74 and 7. And this might take a long time because we are checking for all the vulnerabilities, but this is a very good way to check if a system has some vulnerabilities, because this will check all the known vulnerabilities. So we can do double enter to see it's 75% done. So let's just wait. Yeah, so we can see that we get that the hosts are all up, but not vulnerable. The result from this scan might be different for some of you. We usually would see that there's a lot of vulnerabilities when we do this on the Metasploitables, because they are made for us to hack them. But this was just some of the things we can do with nmap. We want to test Legion now, so we can go up here and write Legion. Then it will call for our password. So we will authenticate it, and then we have Legion here. So here we can press on the plus sign. We can take our IP, we can see it from here. So we can take the inet address, so we can say 192.168.64.7. And we can do easy and hard mode, and we can do paranoid, sneaky, polite, normal, aggressive, or insane. We don't have a firewall or anything checking us, so we can do the aggressive part. It will take less time to do an aggressive, but if you don't want to get caught by doing a lot of requests, we could do the paranoid and sneaky. And like I talked about in the nmap, it will probably use a two-way handshake instead of a three-way handshake to not get caught, and a lot of other things. So we can submit this, and then it will do our scans. This might take a long time, so we will take a coffee break. Here we can see that we get some of the ports and the protocols, and this is also a way to gather information about the IPs, what they have opened, to see where we can do some vulnerabilities. So here we can see the services we have, the different tools, the host, it's a bit slow, and we can also right click on them to use some of the tools on them. There is some brute force tools we can use, but Legion is just a GUI way of doing some of the information gathering we have done. It's a nice tool, but we can see some of them crashed here. But this is one of the ways you can gather information with something like Legion. So to get GVM to work, most of you have taken the image from the Nextcloud. So we can go up here and we can write GVM. And one of the first things you want to do is to check the setup. So we will write our password, and this will check if everything works as intended. Okay, so now we are moving on to GVM, and one of the first things we can do here is to write GVM, and we will first do the initial setup, and then you can check the setup, and then you will start it. One of the things you can unfortunately do if you haven't followed the installation is that you can forget your password. If you are so unfortunate that you forget your password, you can use this command. So sudo -biggie u underscore gvmd user equal to admin, let's say, and -- new password equal to admin. I have already done this, but you can do it. After you have done that, your password and your user will change. After you have done that, you can open the Greenbone webpage by doing the GVM start. It might say that it's a bad website. You will just say advanced and go onto the website anyway. But this is the tool we have here. So now we are doing the GVM scan. So here we can see the GVM tool, and we have some configurations where we can look at some targets, some port list, what it does. We can do credentials. When we do the scans, we can do tickets if we have some vulnerabilities we want to patch, and so on. So let's say we are here and we will say scans and task. Then we will say new task. So let's say the task wizard, and then we will paste in our IP address. So as we can see here, it's 192 168, 64, and 7. And then we will start the scan. And this might take some time. As we can see here, the GVM scan took a lot of time and it will use a lot of resources. On my machine it took 38 minutes. We can go to the dashboard to see all the information. So we can see we have one high severity class, one task we've done, and then we can go to scan to see what task we've done. We can do the reports, so we can see we have 24 high in severity, 39 medium, 6 low, and 89 logs. And this is some good information, but you can actually go to the result to see all the vulnerabilities. And this is some good information if you want to take advantage of some of the vulnerabilities in the system. That's some of the most useful things you can use Greenbone Security Assistant software to, is to get a good GUI overview of the different scans and to make tickets on them. So that's the GVM scan. We have a lot of different ways to gather information. One of the things we can do, and you have in your exercise, is to use the whois. And I know some of you had some trouble with the stu.dk. So it's also fine if you use hackthisSite.org. And this site is a special site used for gathering information because it will give you a lot of information, like the registered URL, a abuse contact email you can use for social engineering, a phone number, and a lot of information, the country, and so on. So let's try to look at if we use whois on, let's say, google.com, what information we will get here. So on google.com, we will get the domain name, register URL, some registrars. We also get a abuse contact email here and a contact phone. We will get some domain statuses and organization and country. So we will actually, and we will also get the name service. So we will get mostly the same information, and there will be some differences. If we use the example, we can see here, when we do the stu.dk, we will get the domain, the DNS, when it was registered, the period, and if it's active, and so on. We get some information. What if we use www.stu.dk? Do we get different information? Then we don't get anything. And this is important when you do research on something. You will always get more information if you use the whole IP, but sometimes if you don't get information, you can use different variations of the same URL to see different informations. But this is a very good tool to get some quick information.